Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Fairouz, you can call me Faye, and today is another makeup look. I have been dreaming of this particular mix in my head, and that is a siren witch. I have like a huge interest in witchy topics in general, and I would say not every witch is a siren, but every siren is a witch. Or at least they have a witchy essence to them. Maybe that's just how I see them in my head. However, today I wanted to do a makeup look basically inspired by a siren and a witch, or a siren witch. I did film this look differently than the way I have been doing it. I truly just wanted to be in the moment when I was doing the makeup. I didn't want to be disturbed by talking through the actual process. I thought it would be more authentic to just simply be with myself and apply the makeup and do the whole look, and then come back here and just take you through how I did this look. I don't know if that's like a better format than the way I did it before. Nonetheless, I truly wanted to be immersed in the process. I even had like my earbuds in, listening to music that embodies this whole siren witchy vibe, just to, again, to be in the right headspace for it. And I feel like it did get me into that headspace. I even find that my mannerism has shifted a little bit. I don't know if that will show throughout the video, but hey, consider it a part of the vibe of this whole tutorial, and I hope you will enjoy it either way. So let's get right into it. I wanted something that has a bit of that mermaidy, ethereal scales type of a reflection, which I mimicked with my eyeshadow, and keeping that ghost-like essence that I kind of associate with them being in water. It always in my brain, I imagine them being like a bit transparent almost, and again that ethereal vibe. And I thought maybe I could mimic that with using a foundation that has a touch of violet or a touch of purple to it, and I think I achieved that. I did also add a bit of earrings, by the way. I just decided to add them to my hair. I wore something as an earring, like as a proper earring, but the others I just adorned my hair with them. I thought it's very appropriate for this look to have a nod to the ocean with seashells, stars and pearls and stuff like that. I wanted also to bring that witchy essence to the surface as well. So I decided to go for a notch of redness under the eyes. I felt that will add that haunted look to the eyes, basically. With the lids being reflective, I thought under the eyes could speak a different story. And I also added some contouring with a very, very light shade of contouring, just to make sure to add a bit of depth and a bit of hollowness to the eyes as well. Let's go through this step by step. Starting with foundation, I did use the T-Fit Buildable Fit Spatula Foundation for my base. This is in the shade VO1 Violet. This has like a touch of purple to it. I did use a sponge. I didn't use the spatula right to my face. I added a bit to the back of my hand and then applied it to my face. And as I said, I used a sponge and then I used a brush just to go back in and emphasize the foundation even further around my nose, under my eyes. I didn't use any concealer. I wanted a little bit of that like dark circle moment to show through. I didn't want to erase it completely because I wanted a bit of a haunted look. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I call it haunted beauty. When I imagine a siren witch, I always think of haunted beauty in my brain. So I wanted something that both could be considered as like a beautiful application, but there's like a touch wrong with it, if that makes sense. So I decided to use this with no actual like concealer, or very opaque concealer in this case. And once I was finished with that, I did add some nose contour, and I did use the Tag Multi Contour Stick 01 Nude Beige. I'm still testing this as a product, but so far I would say that this is one of the best shades I could find for my skin tone, and definitely for such a look this worked perfectly, even though it's not particularly very cool. It's very neutral, but I found it very useful. I did add a bit, as I said, around my nose, blended it a bit, and then I added a bit of lighter shade just to define the nose even further, just to make sure that the nose contour is not too striking, but still there. And after I finished with that, basically I immediately started with the eyes, and I added the same contour shade, or multi-stick in this case. So I put that under my eyes to make sure not to lose any of the depth. And then I also added a bit to the lids as well. Not too much, just a little bit, and blended it with the same brush I used for my contour. And once I was done with that, I wanted to layer that haunted look again under the eyes. So I thought a bit of pink or redness of some sort could be effective, especially on the lower line. So I started with this eyeliner from Colorgram. It has a colored side to it and a concealer side to it. I only used the color side. I think this is pretty practical for the aiguiselle specifically, but I didn't do a proper aiguiselle today. I just used the color side. This is called Colorgram All-in-One Aiguiselle Maker. This is in the shade 05 Berry, and I did use that as the base. Like I started with that, just a baseline under the lower lashes, and once I was done with that, I wanted to emphasize that even further, especially on the outer corners of the lower lashes, like the last third, I would say. And I used Pipia Nudie Slim Eyeliner in the shade 06 New Mauve, and it's the slimmest eye pencil I've ever seen, and I love it so much. I think I'm gonna get more shades. It's one of those that once you twist it, you can't actually twist it back. So if you have something like that, I think it's better to go step by step with it, but it's very effective. And I did swatch these on the back of my hand when I first got them, and this is one of the shades that one of the products that once it sets, it doesn't really smudge, and that's perfect for this because I didn't want it to be all over the place. I just wanted to be very specific and precise to certain places basically. And then for the actual waterline, I did use another eyeliner. This is from Heart Percent, and this is the Dot On Mood gel eyeliner pencil in the shade 11 Mild Salmon. I also love this thing for the fact that when you apply it, it's super creamy, and it does apply perfectly from like the first round. It's kind of hard for me to find eye pencils or eyeliner to use in the waterline with such ease. Usually they are a bit stiffer, and my eyes are more watery than normal, I guess, and sometimes it's hard for the product to stick on them. But I feel in this case that the product has like landed successfully, I should say, and it's still there, so I'm pretty impressed by it. Again, one of those cases that I think I might get more of these because they add such a nice touch to the look overall. Before I actually continued with my eyes, I returned back to the cheeks. I added a blush. This is kind of a liquid cream-ish blush from Judy Doll. It is a Chinese beauty brand, if I'm not mistaken, and it is called Judy Doll Soft and Smooth Blush Lotion. This is in the shade 02. This is one of those products. The shade is very, very light, like extremely light, and you can barely see it. But I thought for such a look, I didn't want a dominant blush look. I wanted to add something just to make sure that things aren't flat. I didn't want like a flat look. I wanted something, again, with a bit more dimension. So I added a bit on each side and I blended it. And I think I added like the rest on my nose and a bit maybe on my forehead just to bring everything together. And afterwards I returned back to the eyes basically, and I started with the actual color of this look, which will resemble a little bit more of the mermaid siren side of things, and especially like the tail, the scales. This is more on the siren side, but mermaids and sirens are kind of connected. Anywho, so I used this palette from Cheery Up, and it's, I think, in the shade called Dreamcatcher, and it's a beautiful palette. I fell in love with this palette immediately, and I immediately wanted to use this shade right here. I have to admit, even though I love how this shade looks, it is very squishy in nature, so I'm afraid it's gonna like crumble pretty easily. I didn't use my fingers this time. I just used a sponge brush, but I thought it's not a problem. I'm actually adding a bit more with my fingers to emphasize the look even further. I think this is this needed this touch with my fingers to make things even more intense. And I feel like this look and this concepts kind of deserve a little bit more intensity to it. So this is more of a editorial look for me. So it's not something that I would probably wear on a daily basis, but it's just a concept that I wanted to try. Anywho, so as I said, I used this palette. I did use this shade right here, the light pastel blue, just to draw a line beginning from like the inner corner, and then I did like half a line on each side between the eyebrow and the actual lash line, and I thought that will give it a whimsical touch. I did then go all over the lid with this shade, the crumbly one that I talked about previously. It is a beautiful, beautiful shade, but it's definitely prone to breaking down. So it's super squishy and soft. If you happen to have this palette, or if you have something similar, these shades usually tend to be a little tender. So yeah, careful with that, I would suggest. I extended that under the line as well, and I tried to keep it as neat as possible. That's why I used a sponge tip brush and not my fingers. But honestly, I feel like now adding like a final touch with my fingers made the look even better, in my humble opinion. So yeah, once I finished with that, I just added an eyebrow gel. I used an eyebrow gel from Pero, and it is called Speedy Skinny Brow Mascara, and it's in the shade 07 Taupe Ash. And I wanted to have more of an ethereal, kind of a low contrast almost look, and I found having like a little bit of an ashy eyebrows would work very well with the look, especially with my hair at this moment, since my hair is dyed, and I feel like that kind of complemented very well. And then I did a touch of mascara just on the upper lashes, didn't do the lower lashes this time, because I wanted that redness to be the main moment for the lower lashes. Again, I used a brown mascara. This is from a brand called Trend It Up, and it is their Express Volume in brown. And once I was done with that, I finally made it to the lips. So I had like a vision for the lips. First, I decided to go with a shade. This is from Feve. These are their Pouncy lip liner, and I wanted to use the shade 2 or 02 Bear, and it is a very beige-esque, and it has two sides, but I just used the liner side. I did not only line my lips with it, but also used it like almost like a lipstick of some sort. And then I thought I could add this Peri gloss. This is from their Mood Glowy Tint glosses, basically. This is a, if I'm not mistaken, a special edition gloss, so I don't think they will have this for long, as far as I know. This is in the shade 01 Glass Heart, and it's basically a white gloss, which was intriguing to me. I thought I could add it over that lip liner and it will add that glassiness that I also associate with such a concept. But once I added it, I didn't feel like that was the right move. So I actually ended up blocking the lips and not using gloss basically, and used another shade of the same liner, Vive liners, but in the shade 03 Define. This has a touch of berry rosiness to it, and I felt like this mimics the line under the eyes, and it suits the vibe a bit more, in my opinion, and without the gloss. I preferred the look without the gloss, even though when I think of like a siren, I think that maybe like the glossy lips would suit that concept better. But for this particular look, I thought maybe we'll leave the whole reflective thing to the sparkly parts of the eyeshadow and leave the lips a bit more mattified. It felt right. I could be wrong. Maybe it was the shade. The first lip liner I used didn't really suit the whole look. But regardless, I feel like this kind of envelops the vision I had for the siren witch inspired makeup. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Sometimes I get those weird-esque inspirations and I feel like a little bit of an urge to act upon them. I've never filmed any of them until now. I got back here just like a little less than a month ago with like doing makeup tutorial / inspired makeup looks, but this is the first time I feel like I've done something a bit more imaginative in my opinion. I have to admit, a little bit obsessed with the history of witchcraft and witches in general. I feel like I've been reading a lot over this specific topic throughout years of my life. And I'm also very interested in like sirens, mermaids, vampires, fairies, fays, you know, the fantastical realms of things. Anywho, I am very interested and intrigued by these topics specifically. I have plenty of ideas when it comes to doing like makeup looks. A lot of them envelop somehow a witchy vibe and probably will do more of these. Obviously it will help if that's of an interest to you, but I think I might do them regardless. Anywho, if you enjoyed today's video, give it a like and subscribe if you haven't. And I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening whenever you're watching this. And I will be seeing you in another one very soon. Until then, take care. Bye bye.